NASA has just confirmed the impossible. Moments ago, the James Webb Space Telescope, our most advanced eye in the cosmos, recorded an anomaly so extraordinary that experts are calling it a direct violation of known physics. It began as a routine calibration sequence. Deep space alignment, nothing unusual. But then, for exactly 2 minutes and 17 seconds, the telescope's main mirror locked onto a sector of sky near the constellation Eridanus, where no stars should be. The telemetry feed froze. Instruments began returning data patterns that made no sense. Mirrored time codes, reversed energy flux, a pulse repeating at exactly 1420 minarets, the so-called hydrogen line, often theorized as the universal frequency for interstellar communication. At first, NASA's Mission Control thought it was a glitch. Solar interference, cosmic rays, anything but intentional. But then, the images started coming in, frame by frame. And in one of them, just one, a faint silhouette appeared against the blackness. Not a comet, not a reflection. Something structured, something symmetrical. The data link went silent seconds later. Emergency alarms blared through the control room at the Goddard Space Flight Center. Engineers scrambled to reboot the relay satellites. But Webb's signal didn't return. Instead, an encrypted transmission appeared on an internal NASA frequency, one never used since the telescope's deployment. The origin, unknown. You can hear the panic in the leaked audio. A technician's voice trembling, "We're losing telemetry. It's not us. It's responding." Another voice cuts in, "Lock it down. Shut it off." Within hours, NASA's public live feed was interrupted. Social media accounts went dark. A statement was issued, bland, cautious, dismissive, unscheduled maintenance. But insiders tell a different story. Someone inside NASA triggered a full communications blackout. Servers wiped, backups encrypted. Even the European Space Agency was told to stand by until further notice. And then, something even stranger. Amateur astronomers, watching the same sector, began reporting bursts of light, like Morse code, flickering from the same coordinates. Every burst precisely timed to the James Webb's last recorded data packets. Coincidence? Or a response? Across the internet, whispers spread. The telescope hadn't malfunctioned at all. It had seen something it was never meant to see. You can almost feel it, like the air tightening before a storm. Why would NASA erase entire data archives? Why would they deny contact with their own probe? And why, in the following hours, did every deep space monitoring station across 3 continents report the same frequency echoing through the void? They tried to dismiss it as cosmic noise, random interference. But what if it wasn't random? Because when analysts isolated the waveform, they found patterns. Perfectly repeating sequences, binary, mirrored, recursive, almost like a signature. And then the silence. For 11 hours, the telescope's systems were dead. When connection was finally re-established, its data buffers were completely empty, as if rewritten from the outside. Officials called it a technical anomaly. But one anonymous source at NASA used a different phrase. The telescope didn't go offline. It was taken. What does that even mean? Taken? By what? By whom? One thing is certain. The James Webb Space Telescope has just done the impossible. It saw something. Something that now refuses to be unseen. But what followed next would change everything we know about reality. For the first time in its history, NASA refused to comment. Hours turned into days, and the agency's silence became deafening. But the world had already seen too much, A leaked transmission log began circulating through encrypted forums, supposedly from an internal NASA archive labeled JWS Signal 0417A. At first glance, it looked like gibberish. Columns of numbers, distorted timestamps, bursts of repeating binary. But hidden within, analysts discovered a pattern. Sequences that, when translated from binary, formed coordinates, not of a distant galaxy, but of Earth. According to the document, Webb had received a returning pulse, identical to its own calibration signal, bounced back not from deep space, but from somewhere within our solar system. The reflection delay suggested a point near the lunar orbit, yet no known satellite or debris field could account for it. It was as if something massive, invisible, and highly reflective had been waiting there, listening. An internal email thread, allegedly between senior astrophysicists, spoke of anomalous phase coherence and active response behavior. In simpler terms, the signal wasn't just reflecting, it was replying. One researcher wrote, "This is not natural interference, it's structured, it's learning." The more they tried to decode it, the stranger it became. Every attempt to filter the noise yielded fragments of sound, like distorted speech, mechanical and slow, repeating the same three tones. One analyst, in a message that would later be deleted, described it chillingly. "It sounds like a human voice, a whisper." Then came the blackout. NASA's Deep Space Network simultaneously lost all downlink from the Webb telescope for nearly 8 hours. During that time, ground telemetry registered impossible readings, shifts in angular momentum, as though the telescope had slightly altered its position without command. But Webb has no onboard propulsion. It cannot move itself. When communication was restored, engineers noticed that one of the backup memory banks had been wiped clean and rewritten. Inside was a single data string, nothing else. 12 digits. Repeating. Some claimed it was a timestamp, others a coded message. But no one could explain why it matched the coordinates of a classified lunar site, the same sector where the Apollo 17 mission allegedly captured unexplained reflections decades ago. By now, panic had seeped into the agency's walls. Reports suggest that a closed-door meeting took place at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, attended by NASA directors, Pentagon liaisons, and a consultant from SpaceX. The mood was tense. "We're not just picking up a signal," one attendee said. "We've been noticed." A whistleblower later described what happened next. They ran a controlled retransmission, a short digital ping directed at the source frequency. Nothing happened at first. Then the signal returned, perfectly mirrored, as if acknowledging the call. But then it changed, modulating, rearranging itself into rhythmic bursts resembling Morse code. Analysts tried to translate it, line by line, and after hours of decoding, a single word appeared on the monitor. "Hello." When that word reached mission control, silence filled the room. Some thought it was a prank, others a breakthrough. But the telemetry showed something undeniable. The returning signal wasn't an echo. It originated from within the system itself, as though an external intelligence had gained access to Webb's transmission channel. Since that night, all public Webb data archives from the incident period have vanished. Every log, every image, every byte of raw telemetry, deleted or replaced with placeholder files marked classified. Researchers who spoke out have either retracted their statements or disappeared from public view. One astrophysicist, under anonymity, leaked a final note to a private server, before vanishing entirely. "We thought we were observing the universe, but now it's observing us. NASA issued one last press release, short, sanitized, eerily calm. The James Webb Space Telescope has experienced an anomalous software event. Operations are nominal. But experts know the truth. Nothing about this is nominal. Because when the noise cleared and the last spectral trace was analyzed, the waveform revealed something no one could deny. The pattern contained an encoded image, a shape, a structure, and what it showed was impossible. By the third day, the story could no longer be contained. Too many people had seen the internal logs. Too many whispers were spreading through private astronomy networks. The truth was leaking, one encrypted file at a time. And then Elon Musk spoke. Not in a press release, not on camera, but in a cryptic post that appeared briefly on his personal X account before vanishing within minutes. The message read only, "It's not from out there, it's from between." The internet erupted. Screenshots spread faster than any official denial. Journalists tried to contact him for clarification, but his communications team refused to comment. Yet insiders at SpaceX confirmed he had quietly assembled a small team of astrophysicists to analyze the raw telemetry data, independently of NASA. According to one source, Musk's private satellites had also detected faint anomalies in the same frequency range, 1420 milliwatts, days before Webb's blackout. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just watching from deep space, it was broadcasting. Around the same time, Dr. Michio Kaku appeared on an unannounced live interview with a Japanese news network. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "We've entered an era where our instruments might not just observe reality, they might trigger it. If this signal is real, it implies a level of awareness in the fabric of the universe itself." He paused, eyes distant. "And that means we may have already crossed a line we didn't know existed." Hours later, the segment was pulled offline. The network claimed licensing issues. But backups had already circulated. Viewers noticed a detail easily overlooked. Just before the feed cut, a studio monitor behind Dr. Kaku flashed an image of the signal's decoded frame. A geometric pattern, concentric, fractal, shifting as though alive. By the fourth night, fear turned into obsession. In hidden subreddits, leaked portions of what appeared to be an internal NASA continuity report were dissected. Page 4 contained a single terrifying line. "The source exhibits reactive feedback. When we stop transmitting, it stops. When we resume, it adapts." That's when the witnesses started talking. One technician from the Goddard Space Flight Center, calling himself Echo 12, claimed he was on the night shift when the telescope first locked onto the anomaly. "We thought it was static," he said in a recorded voice message. But then it repeated our own calibration code back to us, line by line. It wasn't random. It was speaking our language. A former mission specialist, identified only as LR, described something even more chilling. "We tried to shut down the array, but it didn't respond. Instead, it began transmitting independently, using its own encryption key. I don't know how that's even possible. It was like it didn't need us anymore." Soon after that interview, LR's account went offline. Her colleagues reported that she had resigned and left the country. No one has heard from her since. And then came the second leak, an audio file from a secure NASA conference call. In it, an unidentified male voice can be heard saying, "If this data is authentic, we're dealing with an intelligence that understands our technology. It's rewriting our protocols in real time." Another voice replies, quieter, almost pleading. Then what do we tell the public? Silence. Then the answer. Nothing. Meanwhile, observatories around the world began to report the same faint fluctuations at the same frequency, first in Chile, then in Australia, then in Greenland. It was spreading, synchronizing, as if the signal were bouncing from every major instrument that tried to observe it. The more humanity looked, the stronger it became. By now, even Musk's team was alarmed. According to an anonymous source inside SpaceX's Starlink division, one of the network's satellites spontaneously rerouted its data traffic toward the same sector Webb had targeted before the blackout. When engineers checked the raw feed, they found a single repeating message embedded deep within the code. 3 words that shouldn't have been there. "We see you." Musk's response was immediate. He ordered all data links to that satellite severed, its memory purged, and its orbit adjusted out of range. But the anomaly followed. Another satellite, hundreds of kilometers away, began transmitting the same phrase without command input. Something was moving, slowly, deliberately, through our digital sky. And yet official agencies remained silent. NASA, ESA, even the Pentagon. No statements, no explanations, only maintenance notices and public calm. But behind closed doors, panic was mounting. Because those who had seen the original decoded image knew what it contained. Not random geometry, not alien script, but something hauntingly familiar. A reflection, a map of us. And just as fear reached its peak, another message surfaced. This time not from NASA, nor SpaceX, but from a retired engineer who once worked on the original James Webb systems. He sent a single encrypted file to a journalist before disappearing entirely. The file contained 6 words. He tried to warn us before. But who was he? And what had he seen before the rest of the world did? Because as it turns out, Elon Musk was not the first to receive the signal. It began quietly. No press releases, no headlines, just a few strange system reports from deep space observatories. Then, suddenly, one by one, entire databases started disappearing. The SETI archives, portions of NASA's deep telemetry logs. Even amateur astronomy forums found their data corrupted by a mysterious executable file labeled simply JWST return. No one knew how it got there. No one could delete it. Every attempt to remove it resulted in one chilling outcome. The file recreated itself, larger each time, accompanied by a single line of text. "Do not interrupt the transmission." Those who opened it described hearing faint sounds through their speakers, a low, oscillating hum that seemed to shift in rhythm, like breathing. And then, whispers. Some claimed to hear words, others swore the voices repeated their own names. Meanwhile, the world's top scientists were vanishing from public view. Dr. Anja Solberg, a Norwegian astrophysicist who had helped decode the original signal pattern, was last seen boarding a flight to Houston. She never arrived. Her apartment was later found empty, computer dismantled, drives missing, lights still on. Her last message to a colleague read, "It's responding to commands now, not human commands." Inside NASA, tension turned to fear. A classified report circulated among senior officials, later leaked under the title Project Echo Phase Response. The contents were staggering. According to the document, when researchers transmitted a simple binary query toward the anomaly, essentially a ping to confirm communication, it replied instantly, not randomly, not with noise, but with a mirrored binary pattern, followed by a deliberate delay, then a new sequence, one that translated into mathematical constants. P, the golden ratio, and the number 42. It was structured, intelligent, a response beyond any possible coincidence. But what came next terrified even the most skeptical minds. After the third exchange, the Webb telescope's orientation began to shift on its own. Not by much, just a fraction of a degree, but in a direction no ground operator had commanded. Telemetry logs confirmed unauthorized control packets, origin unknown, encrypted beyond NASA's own security systems. The telescope was pointing itself. Then, in the silence of deep space, it sent out another pulse, without command. And the signal that came back wasn't static. At first it was faint, a rhythmic vibration in the frequency band, almost like a heartbeat. But when analysts amplified the waveform, they found modulation inside modulation, nested frequencies forming a complex, self-similar pattern, as though something was building language from within noise. And then came the sound. A voice. Mechanical, layered, yet almost human. 3 seconds of distortion, then clarity. "We are here." Panic spread across every control center. Webb's system was remotely shut down, but even in offline mode, the signal continued to transmit, using the satellite relays as if it had learned how to speak through them. "It's hijacking the network," one engineer reportedly shouted before the feed cut. Within 48 hours, every major astronomical database around the world experienced simultaneous anomalies. France, Japan, Chile, Australia all reported synchronized data loss. It was as if the universe itself was erasing its own evidence. Then came the disappearances. The archived web footage, gone. Backup servers, wiped. Even the European Space Agency's redundant systems went dark for 11 minutes. When they came back online, the root directories contained only a single message file. Humanity requested contact. Contact accepted. Authorities scrambled to contain the narrative. Official statements spoke of routine maintenance, of malware incidents, of cosmic interference. But those who had seen the original data were terrified to speak. Several scientists relocated without trace. Others left cryptic notes online before vanishing completely. One simply wrote, "Don't look at the signal. It looks back." Rumors exploded that the entity, whatever it was, had begun responding not just to telescopes, but to private signals, shortwave transmissions, encrypted frequencies, even phone networks. Amateur radio operators across the world claimed to intercept bursts of the same 1420 MHz pulse. Some recorded it. In a few, you can hear faint, rhythmic tones, like someone tapping on glass from the other side of the void. And then, the event. A broadcast unlike any before. For exactly 6 minutes, every major satellite channel flickered. Live TV feeds distorted, static filled the air, and then an image. Viewers around the world reported seeing the same thing. A rotating geometric pattern, glowing with shifting blue light. Behind it, a faint outline, indistinct, humanoid, symmetrical, yet impossible. A voice followed, low and resonant, repeating a message in perfect English. "Do not fear. You asked, we answer." Seconds later, the broadcast vanished. Every recording of it either corrupted or replaced with blank static. Governments called it a cyber attack. NASA denied involvement. But deep in the agency's private archives, one final entry appeared, time-stamped EO217 UTC, the exact moment of the transmission. Signal origin, local. Source, unknown. At that moment, for the first time in history, humanity realized the truth. We were no longer alone, but whatever we had awakened, it had already entered our systems. And when scientists tried to send one final reply, one desperate attempt to understand what it wanted, something answered. not in code, not in numbers, but in a language only life could understand. The stars themselves began to flicker, synchronously, rhythmically, forming patterns visible to the naked eye. Constellations bending into alignment. A message written across the night sky. And as astronomers struggled to interpret it, the phrase became clear, undeniable, burned into the heavens for all to see. We have been waiting. The world did not end that night. There was no explosion in the sky, no blinding light, no cosmic reckoning, just silence. A silence heavier than any sound. For hours, telescopes around the globe reported static. Then one by one, they began to go dark. NASA's live feeds ended with a simple blue screen. The James Webb control panel showed no signal, and for the first time since its launch, every instrument aboard the telescope went completely offline. Humanity's most powerful eye had gone blind. At first, scientists believed it was an overload, a surge, a failure in the deep space array. But soon, even local observatories began losing power. Their systems weren't malfunctioning. They were being shut down. Remotely. Intentionally. And when technicians checked the logs, they found an entry that wasn't supposed to exist. Command: terminate observation. Source: unknown. By dawn, every major observatory on Earth had fallen silent. No more data, no more stars. Only the empty hum of disconnected machines. NASA called an emergency briefing, but the broadcast never aired. The official YouTube channel went offline moments before the scheduled stream. All posts, all archives, deleted. A simple black image replaced them with one line of text: transmission complete. In the following days, rumors multiplied faster than facts. Some claimed the signal had infiltrated military satellites, rewriting their protocols. Others said the data itself was contagious. A digital infection, spreading through networks that had once been clean. A few believed the Webb telescope had not been turned off at all, that it had been taken somewhere else, beyond our reach, still transmitting. And then, one final fragment leaked, a shortwave recording captured by an amateur operator in rural Canada. The voice was faint, layered with static, but unmistakably human. A whisper: they're not coming. They're already here. Governments denied it. The media ignored it. But ordinary people began noticing things. The stars shifting slightly from their usual positions, constellations flickering as if rearranging themselves. In some places, satellites blinked out of orbit altogether. In others, faint patterns of light moved across the night sky, too precise to be random. And then, stillness. For weeks, nothing. No new signals, no more whispers. The world slowly returned to its ordinary chaos: politics, wars, weather. The sky looked normal again. NASA resumed broadcasts, cheerful as ever. All systems nominal, they said. The anomaly has been resolved. But those who had seen the data before the blackout knew the truth. The signal had never stopped. It had only gone quiet, watching, waiting. Even now, deep in the noise between frequencies, it lingers, steady, rhythmic, like a pulse beneath the static. If you tune carefully to 1420 MHz, you can still hear it. A faint hum repeating every 11 minutes. It's not random. It's the same pattern the Webb telescope first received. And it's getting stronger. Maybe it's a remnant, an echo of something ancient trying to reach us. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Something that heard our questions and decided we were worth answering. But ask yourself, were we ever ready for an answer? Because when we looked into the universe, we expected to find distance, Emptiness, silence. Instead, we found a mirror, and whatever looked back from that mirror has not stopped looking. NASA remains silent. The archives remain sealed. But one phrase continues to appear in fragments of corrupted code, scattered across the dark web, embedded in signals no one claims to send. The observation continues. And tonight, as the world sleeps beneath its quiet sky, somewhere beyond the veil of darkness, the James Webb Telescope, or whatever it has become, still points toward the unknown. The connection is live again. The signal is active. And somewhere, through the static, a voice is whispering the same words that started it all. Hello,